Jack Nicklaus on PGA. You host the Memorial Tournament in June. What do you make of this no-cut plan that is going to take effect sometime on the PGA Tour next year? PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan has hinted the plan will go ahead despite criticism from some players. The PGA Tour is set to push ahead with limited field no-cut events in 2024 despite a backlash from some of its players. In 1950, when the PGA Championship came to Scioto Golf Club, a 10-year-old boy wandered the grounds near Columbus, Ohio, searching for autographs. He had just started playing golf that year, and the likes of Sam Snead and Lloyd Mangrum were populating his home course. PGA Tour no-cut events likely despite backlash. One of the tour's most radical answers to the threat posed by rival circuit LIV Golf has been the introduction of designated events. Those tournaments ensure that the best players come together more often and for considerably higher purses. However, the PGA Tour is not finished there, and in March confirmed that some of the designated events in 2024 will be limited field, no-cut affairs. The PGA Tour is set to push ahead with limited field, no-cut events in 2024, despite a backlash from some of its players. It appears Monahan is prepared to push on with the idea of no-cut events despite criticism from some players. Per Bob Herrig at Sports Illustrated, he said during the latest designated event, the Wells Fargo Championship, "Our preference would be no-cut events." The proposal, called the designated event model, would see tournaments have reduced fields of between 70 to 80 players with no cut. However, that led to a backlash, with even one of the biggest proponents of the move, Rory McIlroy, admitting that there were some angry players following the decision. One of the most vocal critics was James Hahn, who told Golfweek, I hate them. I'm gonna say exactly what 99.99% of fans said about players leaving for the LIV Tour. If our players just said, we're doing this for the money, I would have had a lot more respect for them. But how they're covering up what they're doing and trying to make it a thing about sponsors and fans and saving opposite field events, I think that's all BS. During the build-up to the Masters, it then emerged that Tiger Woods and Jack Nicklaus had been in talks with PGA Tour Commissioner Jay Monahan about keeping cuts at their events, the Genesis Invitational and Memorial Tournament, respectively. Woods said, "There's still some ongoing discussion about some of the designated events and whether or not we're going to have cuts going forward. I certainly am pushing for my event to have a cut." Another player in favor of retaining cuts is former world number 1 Jason Day. Also at Quail Hollow, the Australian said, "I like having the cut. I think this year's worked out great with the cuts. We've had the best players in the world rise to the occasion on multiple occasions now. If the best players are supposed to stick around for the weekend, we should play better, and I understand that. If we don't play better, then we have to reevaluate why we didn't play better and get ourselves in contention." However, he did acknowledge that the best way to gauge what works best is to introduce the no-cut events, then compare their success to this year's. He continued, "I think the biggest thing we've got to work out is see how this year goes, see how next year goes, and then put them up against each other." This year, the Honda Classic and Valspar Championships suffered as they were held between designated events in the calendar, and that's something Monahan also confirmed the PGA Tour is working to avoid happening in 2024. He said, "One of the things we're working on for next year to make certain as it relates to cadence is that there's clear separation between designated events and our full field events, and we get out of the position we've been in this year where we have a few isolated weeks." Most of the attention will inevitably be on the events with the new format though, and whether the discontent among the PGA Tour's ranks continues. What Jack Nicklaus said, "You host the Memorial Tournament in June. What do you make of this no-cut plan that is going to take effect sometime on the PGA Tour next year? I'm not fond of it. Some of it is coming from trying to not make the tournaments that aren't elevated too secondary. If you've got 120 guys playing in a cut and they're suddenly getting into the elevated tournaments, what kind of field are you going to have in the other tournaments? And if you have 70 players playing in one, the 71st player is a pretty darn good player on the PGA Tour. I think what they're trying, and what it will do, is to get some guys you have not heard a lot of, and they're going to be your stars who come along. They're trying to build more names within the PGA Tour, and we'll have to see it and see how it works out. At the Memorial Tournament, I'm not fond of a 70-player field for a couple of reasons. One is that we've got a lot of people who come out and see golf, and I want to see them play golf all day, particularly on Thursday and Friday. Nicklaus also said, "Competition is good anywhere. My own view is that I was a part of the start of the PGA Tour. LIV Golf officials talked to me about wanting me to do it, and I just told them, I can't do it, guys. I started my legacy on the PGA Tour, and I have to stay there." I don't have a big problem with it. I think there's a big place for a lot of those guys who are near the end of their career. I think it's all right from that standpoint. But for me, it was not. And for any of the young guys who really love playing the game of golf and love competition, I don't think that 48 players and 3 rounds of golf and shotgun starts are what you really make a living off. They'll set their families up for a long time, and I have no problem with any of the guys who have left. But it was not my cup of tea. And is there a universe for both of them? Probably so. I don't know. Jon Rahm reveals he has changed his mind on PGA Tour no-cut events. Jon Rahm has admitted that he has changed his mind on the issue of no-cut events being introduced to the PGA Tour. It comes after Jay Monahan received backlash from several players around the tour after it was confirmed that no-cut limited field events would go ahead in 2024. The plans are a response to the format already in place in LIV Golf, with the PGA Tour now proposing a designated event model that will see fields of between 70 to 80 golfers battle it out with no cuts. It is hoped that the new plans will help to improve the quality of golf and tournaments, with Rahm having previously admitted that the changes would not have come about had it not been for the battle for supremacy between LIV Golf and the PGA Tour. What are your thoughts on the subject? Please share your opinions in the section below. If you enjoyed today's video, we would appreciate it if you could give us a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel by clicking the bell icon. This will enable you to be notified as soon as new content is uploaded. Thank you for taking the time to watch. We'll see you again in the next video.